Hello and welcome. Today I'm doing something a little different, and I would like to thank Ginger Bibliophile. I'll leave a link to her channel down below for giving me the idea. In upcoming videos, I'll be reading from Politically Correct Bedtime Stories, and then I'll go on to Once Upon a More Enlightened Time. These are both by James Finn Garner, and they were an anniversary gift from my husband. So, no, we don't go by that list of traditional gifts. We go by what someone would enjoy over time. Today, Politically Correct Bedtime Stories is from 1994, and the Once Upon a More Enlightened Time is from 1995. I've done an earlier video on these two books, and they really were fun to read because the different terminology and spelling that the author uses. I thought I would start off reading Little Red Riding Hood. And this isn't the version that most people will remember. And I really enjoy at the beginning, they have the special lettering. So, Little Red Riding Hood. There once was a young person named Red Riding Hood who lived with her mother on the edge of a large wood. One day her mother asked her to take a basket of fresh fruit and mineral water to her grandmother's house, not because this was woman's work, mind you, but because the deed was generous and helped engender a feeling of community. Furthermore, her grandmother was not sick, but rather was in full physical and mental health and was fully capable of taking care of herself as a mature adult. That page reminds me of the movie Hoodwinked. So Red Riding Hood set off with her basket through the woods. Many people believed that the forest was a foreboding and dangerous place and never set foot in it. Red Riding Hood, however, was confident enough in her own budding sexuality that such obvious Freudian imagery did not intimidate her. On the way to Grandma's house, Red Riding Hood was accosted by a wolf who asked her what was in her basket. She replied, "Some healthful snacks for my grandmother, who is certainly capable of taking care of herself as a mature adult." The wolf said, "You know, my dear, it isn't safe for a little girl to walk through the woods alone." Red Riding Hood said, "I find your sexist remark offensive in the extreme, but I will ignore it because of your traditional status as an outcast from society, the stress of which has caused you to develop your own entirely valid world view. Now, if you'll excuse me, I must be on my way." Red Riding Hood walked on along the main path. But because his status outside society had freed him from slavish adherence to linear, Western-style thought, the wolf knew a quicker route to Grandma's house. He burst into the house and ate Grandma, an entirely valid course of action for a carnivore such as himself. Then, unhampered by rigid traditionalist notions of what was masculine or feminine, he put on Grandma's night clothes and crawled into bed. Red Riding Hood entered the cottage and said, "Grandma, I have brought you some fat-free, sodium-free snacks to salute you in your role of a wise and nurturing matriarch." From the bed, the wolf said softly, "Come closer, child, so that I might see you." Red Riding Hood said, "Oh, I forgot you're as optically challenged as a bat. Grandma, what big eyes you have." "They've seen much and forgiven much, my dear." "Grandma, what a big nose you have. Only relatively, of course, and certainly attractive in its own way." "It has smelled much and forgiven much, my dear." "Grandma, what big teeth you have." The wolf said, "I am happy with who I am and what I am," and leapt out of bed. He grabbed Red Riding Hood in his claws, intent on devouring her. Red Riding Hood screamed, not out of alarm at the wolf's apparent tendency toward cross-dressing, but because of his willful invasion of her personal space. Her screams were heard by a passing woodchopper person, or log fuel technician, as he preferred to be called. When he burst into the cottage, he saw the melee and tried to intervene. But as he raised his axe, Red Riding Hood and the wolf both stopped. "And just what do you think you're doing?" asked Red Riding Hood. The woodchopper person blinked and tried to answer, but no words came to him. "Bursting in here like a Neanderthal, trusting your weapon to do your thinking for you," she exclaimed. "Sexist, speciest. How dare you assume that women and wolves can't solve their own problems without a man's help?" When she heard Red Riding Hood's impassioned speech, Grandma jumped out of the wolf's mouth, seized the woodchopper person's axe, and cut his head off. After this ordeal, Red Riding Hood, Grandma, and the wolf felt a certain commonality of purpose. They decided to set up an alternate household based on mutual respect and cooperation, and they lived together in the woods happily ever after. Definitely not the version of Red Riding Hood that you're familiar with. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to give that like button a little tickle. Be sure to check out Ginger Bibliophile. She has a great channel where you can enjoy fur babies and bookish content as well. Let me know in the comments down below if you'd like to hear more of the politically correct bedtime stories. And if you enjoy content of a bookish nature videos, or just my silly cats on Fridays, make sure to click that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you know when I upload content that may be of interest to you. And until next time, happy reading.